mean, who even wants to talk about menstruation? No one. Ever. But we're going to. Specifically, this old guy. Since I started using my menstrual cup, I have become a huge proponent of them. They are so much nicer than any other menstruation product you're going to try. So there are many different kinds of menstrual cups on the market now. Mine is a Diva cup. It comes with this little baggie for transportation. It just goes right in here. You drawstring it shut. It's what I found at my local Walgreens, so it's what I bought. Menstrual cups in general, though, are a very easy, low-impact switch you can make, and even if you're not a tampons person, you should still really give them a try, because I'm not a tampons person. But if you menstruate, it's a really economic and environmentally safe and friendly way to have a period. So the biggest complaint I hear about menstrual cups online or on social media is that they're unhygienic. But when you compare them to pads where the blood is right up against you all the time, or tampons that give you the risk of having toxic shock, they're safer than tampons, and the blood's not just rubbing against you in a giant diaper like a pad. And you know, period blood is not inherently unhygienic. It's like any other body fluid. As long as you wash your hands correctly afterwards, there's not going to be any weird hygiene issue to deal with when you're using a menstrual cup. What I like most about it from a hygiene aspect is that the blood is kept away from you. You don't get that weird, it's not really a crusty feeling. I don't know. If you've ever worn a pad, you know the feeling of when the pad is just soaked and you feel icky. It's an icky feeling, and you don't get that with a menstrual cup at all, since the blood is kept completely away from you. Money. This cup has saved me so much money. So on average, a box of pads or tampons is like $10 a box, times 12 months in a year. That's $120 a year, at least, at the bare minimum you are spending on menstruation products. Times the 3 years that I've owned my menstrual cup, that's $360 minus the $40 for first purchasing the cup. $320 is what I have saved just from owning this little cup, and they're good for 10 years if you take proper care of them. So in the long stretch of time from buying this to when I'm probably going to have to get rid of it in 10 years, that's $3,200 it's saving me alone on just the pads and the tampons to keep my blood from getting all over everything. And now if you stop to consider the environmental aspect of that, where all of those pads and tampons are going into a landfill every month, let alone every year, the amount that you use, especially if you have maybe a lighter day and you don't really use the pad or the tampon to its full absorption potential. So it's almost like you wasted one. I mean, not really, because you're keeping the blood off of things, but kind of. And then if you factor in the waste that goes into the packaging of the products, the plastic applicators, the little crinkly plastic film things that you peel the pad off of, the plastic bags, the plastic boxes that those products come in, then even push it farther back in the manufacturing process on the amount of waste that is created to even make those and get them onto the store shelves. The amount of waste you're saving with one little silicone cup is astronomical. Even if this cup, which it does, came in a cardboard box with a plastic little window, the amount of plastic you save by buying a little silicone cup is phenomenal. Going back to really how pads and tampons are made, a lot of them are made with bleached cottons and perfumed cottons, and those things really should not be up against your vagina ever. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to go look up how menstrual products are actually made and what goes into them and what is being pushed to put up against your vagina on a monthly basis. It's really not healthy what kind of chemicals are going into those products that we then put right up against or into our body. So if you're not a tampon kind of person, I understand. That's totally cool, because I'm not either. I was terrified at the ideas of tampons. once the idea of toxic shock kind of got into my brain, it didn't leave, and tampons freaked me out. So I'm here to tell you firsthand that the insertion process feels way different than a tampon, and also having it in you feels far different than a tampon. I don't know if anybody else out there got that, but when I used a tampon, it felt really full. Like you could physically tell that there was something inside of your body. And with the menstrual cup, it's not really like that. There's very few times where I can consciously feel like the cup shifting a little bit if a bunch of blood gets in it all of a sudden. Stuff like that. But it's not a constant feeling of there's something in there. So if you're not a tampons person for those reasons, where it's the toxic shock and the feeling of the tampon, I highly suggest that you give a menstrual cup a try. But if you're not a tampons person because of the familiarity you have to have with your bits down there, then reusable cotton pads are a great alternative, and you can find them all over Etsy and Amazon. I will say though that they are far more easier to transport than a pad or a tampon. The size alone, I mean, the cup in the little baggie hold up like this is tiny compared to a pad or a tampon, and then it squishes down even farther. Like, I can grab it out of my bag and just do this and walk to the bathroom, and no one's gonna know because you can't see it at all. It's also really easy to do the whole, you know, in the sleeve and shuffle to the bathroom. So if you're a person who menstruates who doesn't necessarily want everyone around you to know that you're menstruating, it's a really good alternative in that scenario too. Far easier to hide going to the restroom, and far easier to hide in the restroom because there's no crinkle. That crinkle of the little plastic sheets that you pull the pads off of, or the little things you have to open to get the tampon out, it doesn't have that crinkle. And I got over the embarrassment of bleeding a long time ago because it's something that happens to at least 50% of the world's population. But that doesn't mean that I want the person in the stall right next door to know exactly what I'm doing when they hear that telltale crinkle. So there's two main ways to insert the cup. The first one is you fold it flat like this and kind of do that, and then kind of, you know, boop, and it pops open inside you. This is your vagina in this scenario. And then the way I do it, and the second way, is kind of like take a chunk out of the side, a little wedge out of the side, and then vagina. You can stick it up and kind of maneuver it, and it pops open, and push it up a little most of the time, and you're good to go. Sometimes you have to push it a little bit to get it to fully pop open inside of you, and then this creates a little suction area that helps hold it into your vagina. And then to take it out, you just kind of bear down and push with your muscles. You are going to have to use the pelvic floor muscles, and reach up with your fingers, grab these little ridged edge and just pull it out, and then the suction seal will break essentially, and you'll just have a little cup full of blood, and you can either dump it out in the sink and rinse it out, or you can wipe it out with toilet paper depending on like what style of bathroom you're in. The only thing you really have to make sure of when you're cleaning it out before you reinsert it is that the little holes right under this lip here are free from any, I don't know what to call it, remnants? Any remnants? Because they help create the suction that helps hold it inside of you and prevents the leak from happening on the side. And that's really all there is to using one of these. 10 years of wear if you take care of it well. After every cycle, I just boil mine in water to help sanitize it and then stick it back in its little travel bag. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below and I will answer them. And please comment if you have a different style of menstrual cup that you use, just so people get a wider array of the different brands and stuff, because all I've ever tried is the Diva cup and it'll last me 10 years, so I'm not planning on getting rid of it anytime soon to try another brand. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'd really dig that. It would help me out a lot, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!